It's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished moderator, Antonio Lucio. Antonio was just last week announced as the new Chief Marketing and Corporate Affairs Officer for PayPal after decades of globally recognized leadership experience across some of the world's most acclaimed companies, with decades of experience having served as the Chief Marketing and Corporate Affairs Officer of HP, Global Chief Marketing Officer at both Visa and Meta, and as the Chief Innovation Officer at PepsiCo. His impact on the industry to drive growth, build iconic brands, and develop high-performing teams has earned several recognitions, including a consistent presence on the Forbes Most Influential CMOs list, an induction into the American Advertising Federation Hall of Fame, and the American Marketing Association Hall of Fame, just to name a few. Beyond his corporate leadership, Antonio is a champion of fostering diverse talent and inclusive marketing practices, with honors from organizations such as the Association of National Advertisers Alliance for Inclusive and Multicultural Marketing, AdColor, and Adweek. He is also the co-founder of 5S Diversity, a company founded to accelerate the leadership journey of diverse talent and increase their representation in senior marketing roles. In addition to his involvement, all of this, Antonio is a Yale Center for Customer Insights Advisory Board member and executive fellow, and we're incredibly grateful for his continued contribution and engagement with the Yale community. Please join me in welcoming Antonio Lucio to kick off our executive panel today.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that very kind introduction. My only call to fame is that I have great friends. and that's the secret to success. So I'm going to be talking to some great friends here. So why don't we start with some introductions? Why don't you say name, title, and for you, marketing feels like? Ariana.
Okay, I want to go straight in. Ariana Stolarz, I'm the Global Chief Strategy Officer at Accenture Song. Marketing feels like it still has a marketing problem.
Yes. I'm Colleen DeCourcy. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Sonos. For me, marketing feels like it is all up for grabs.
Okay. Thanks for having us, Antonio and Yale team. I'm Marie. I'm going to say my name in French. Do you pronounce your name? So Marie Gulin-Merle. I run marketing for one of the divisions at Google. I can explain because usually the next question is, what does it mean? So I run marketing for ads, commerce, payments, and our own AI transformation. And marketing for me is a renaissance today.
Excellent. So my name is Christoph Becker. I'm a Chief Creative Officer of Whalar Group. And marketing, I think we probably should think less and feel more what marketing should be.
Amazing. So an incredible group of people here. Christoph was a Chief Creative Officer for many years. Now he's at Whalar, which is a company that creates network of creators. Marie is one of the few CMOs that I fundamentally believe is the future of the practice. She has the right balance between right and left brain and has always been keen on the power of storytelling. Colleen is a very interesting individual. Not only did she win the Lion of St. Mark's at Cannes, which means the Hall of Fame of Creativity, but that she's been also a successful CMO twice. And I don't know many people, actually I don't know anyone that has done something like that before. And then Ariana, in her role as Chief of Strategy for Accenture Song, is probably one of the most interesting minds that I have encountered when it comes to redefining the essence of a brand. So what you have here is a truly amazing group of individuals. And we're going to have a conversation today about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the extraordinary of marketing in the age of AI. I've never in my career, and I lived through many transformations, digital, mobile, social media, have seen the speed and the extent of a transformation that we are seeing today. On the good side is a marketer's dream. The whole notion of customization at scale and one-on-one marketing is possible. We talked about it for decades. It was taught by Ravi for decades. Now it's really possible. And then on the dark side of it, the level of disruption and displacement within the industry and beyond is also unprecedented. Like any transformation, there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, and there's also extraordinary. So let's start with the things that are working well. Why don't we start with you, Colleen? What are the things that are working well in this intersection between data, technology, and creativity?
Yeah, I am actually weirdly excited about this moment, both as the creative side of my body and the marketer side. I really feel that this moment, while a lot of people are taking it as a threat, is actually a call for us to step up to a higher order of how we do our jobs. I've been looking a lot at what AI is doing to my teams and to the way that I do my work. And if you think about starting out as a student of marketing or creative and making your way through a process and getting to kind of a level where you're making ideas, the change seems to be that the focus used to be on generation for the first half of our careers, maybe more, doing the job, learning the job, making the things. And really what AI does is it's very good at that. What we're being pushed to and asked to do better is evaluation, which is something that AI isn't actually particularly very good at. And so I'm excited to see myself and the people that I work for able to get generation at scale, but it calls for really evaluation with a kind of prison yard clarity of why you're here, what you're trying to say to people, what you're trying to do. What I'm very glad about is that bad work doesn't work as well in an agentic environment. Work that has no signal, work that isn't great creative work or that doesn't have the right insight, it actually just dies on the vine fairly quickly. And so the push to be better at the fundamentals of why we bother to exist and what we're here to do suddenly are moving back from the cheap side of the ledger over into the pole position. And I think that that is really important when we're coming out of an era where creative was something that you did to justify your media buy, when you could have a decent media plan with a pretty crappy idea and still do okay. That is no longer the case. So I see it as a call to arms, and I'm extremely excited about it.
Marie, what? I mean, you're one of the drivers of the transformation.
Yeah, we see it from the inside and also with all the partners we work with. I love everything you said. And where you started, Antonio, also we're finally going back to the essence of marketing, like great work at the speed of users or consumers, at the speed of culture. We have this ethos in Google Marketing, which is we can finally brief in the morning and ship at night, because you need to produce work at the speed of this world we live in, and it's almost difficult to comprehend that speed. And so now you don't have to choose as a marketer, as you said, when you build the work, you don't have to choose between quality, speed, and money. It was always one of the three needed to go. You know, I can go faster, but it's going to be more expensive, or the quality is not going to be there. So today you can actually achieve the three. We see it, so I'm on the bull case of this thing. We can go to the bear case later. And that's why I said it's a renaissance. We see we free up 30 to 50% of the time. We reinvest the time. And I believe that people are just going to reinvest and invent. If done well, it will be a question of leadership and culture, as always. So we see 30 to 50% of the time on content production that's reinvested. We're seeing, like, for $1 you invest, like, way higher returns. And marketers have to start there with shareholder value. So then you can go to purpose and some of the great work. And so it's if done well, if led well, if we bring people along, I do think it's like the best thing that has ever happened to marketing.
It's interesting what you refers to, Marie, on that 50%. When I was at HP, just very recently, the data that we had is less than 50% of the time in aggregate in our industry and others is spent actually doing meaningful work.
Wow.
So the whole notion that you can have that level of productivity on people that will be more fulfilled and doing better work is truly amazing. Christoph, what's working today? And within your world of creators, which I think will come to age with AI.
What's working today? Well, I'm even more back at the essence because I'm in the human business. So in a way, what is working is value-driven engagement with communities. So we have a clear indication that it's an inside-out movement, not what all our lives, at least my life, has been always outside in, which is over the consumer, over the audience. This is inside out. So basically, communities are nurturing and controlling the conversation. Therefore, the obsession of brands to own culture is a lie because you cannot own culture. But you can engage the culture that exists from these communities. So I think what works is trying to engage, be part of the communication, open dialogue that is based on respect, values, and relevancy, and not what we in the past, in a way, have created a kind of a numbness through precision and reach. Well, this is a much more open-ended situation. And just to throw in some numbers, last year, $55 billion were invested in creator ads or content, which is the fastest growing media arm if you ever compare it to anything. And 56% of Americans we have consumed products recommended by creators. So if the interaction or return of engagement would be a number, that would be the one. I think that works. And one thing that is clear is that we're filling not a new gap, a gap that we have created. So basically, this is what we always wanted. We always want to love brands. That's not a mystery. So, but you cannot love brands by forcing me to love it. So what this new environment has created, value-driven, is that you create a sense of understanding. So in a way, it creates a more world of listeners and a world of I see you and see your difference and I respect your difference. Instead of I don't care, uniformity is my card and sameness is my product. So that obviously will not go anywhere. So that's kind of the feeling I have that works.
Excellent. Ariana, you sit in a very interesting position as part of Accenture, who's driving some of the AI transformation, and at the same time, Accenture Song, who is supposed to drive the creativity, leveraging all those tools and process. What's working for you?
What I'm seeing is an appreciation for specificity, for excellence, for expertise. What I mean by that is, very recently, being a T-shaped person, a Swiss Army person, was seen as something good, like as a virtue, right? And what I'm seeing today, and mostly driven by AI, is that in order for us to avoid being just one of the same, what we need to do is we need to bring people together and find new different ways to have them collaborating, right? So instead of having one person going broad and then that person being replaced, because if you do a lot, you do nothing, right? What you end up having is a strategy person being very strategic in understanding, investigating, coming up with a plan. What you see is culture becoming context, because without that context, that strategy can be tone deaf. What you see is data becoming a signal that sometimes help us validate what we see or not, or give us a hint into where we should go. And what you see is creativity, which I think is today that glue. In that T-shape is not a person, T-shape is how we get all these things together and glue through a way of thinking that can help us problem solve, right? So I see that working great. And the reason why I said, if anything, that marketing had a marketing problem is not because of all the reasons why we used to say marketing has a marketing problem inside of the organization. It's misunderstood. It's a center of cost instead of revenue driver. I'm thinking more about, I don't know if this happened to you, but have you heard the term marketing speak? It's like you say that as a bad thing. It's like I found myself on Claude saying, hey, help me edit this, but make sure it doesn't sound like marketing speak. It's like, but we're marketers. It's like, how come? Is that a bad thing? And it became a bad thing because of us, right? So I think that what's working right now is that we are trying to change, maybe through the work of creators, maybe through the fact that we are going through a renaissance. We're trying to change that. We're trying to change the perception that marketing is something that's not necessary, or that it's just the last of the 4 Ps, that it's just promotion, right? And I think that's working, or at least it's in the right path of working.
Excellent. So before we go into the dark side, Colleen, give me an example where you've been able to bring together data, technology, and creativity to a new height.
Oh my gosh, I mean, it's kind of really become the job every day, isn't it? Trying to think of a very specific, I mean, I think in the work with Snap, my time on the dark side, I'm kidding, but it really relates to what you were saying about specificity. As I was listening to you, I just kind of lit up, because as a creative, specificity was always the golden ticket to something good and real. Mm-hmm. And we've forgotten that as we moved through what we do. I would say that moment of bringing those things together for me at Snap was really when we were really just tasked with a redesign and kind of like a more sticky go-to-market. Like there was no real understanding of what we were being asked to do. And we took very deep dives on data to find out different usage patterns and emotional patterns for people that were on the platform, and long-term results of what it did for health and what those people got out of the platform that was better than they got elsewhere. And then we're able to turn back to the product group and look and tweak the fundamental use cases of how the platform was used. And out of those, when we started to see things pick up, that people would use those new tools or new ways of using tools that we had developed, we were able to productize those tools. And then those tools actually became our next form of going to market in our marketing vehicles. So we were creating platforms and executions that actually were rooted directly in how you use the product, and in using it, you created your own marketing again for the product. And I went in there thinking it was a design and brand job, which it was. It just wasn't the design and brand of the thing that I thought. And I had a lot of people I had to retool or kind of manage out and bring in new, because I had filmmakers and copywriters and art directors who are like, I'm here to do my job. And I'm like, oh, we're making this thing over there that actually does your job by the way people use the platform. And it was a chaotic moment, but a real learning moment for me. I felt like it brought together all the things that I'd always cared about. And I think we have to think about that in marketing as well, how deeply we need to extend out over into product. And I believe it as well with creators, but those two things, the product and the creators and the strategy of why you exist, if you shake them long enough, they will come out with things that people naturally love, use, and tout. And I think that that's, to me, the kind of the future where I like to take my skills in marketing, which is stepping into product creation as a vehicle to engage more users over more time. That might be vague, but there were some fun examples in there that I would take longer to explain.
But Marie, your job is to sell to marketers like us.
I'm not selling anything. I don't sell. Yeah.
Oh, I have a fundamental problem with that. If marketers don't sell, and that's David Ogilvy's famous words, we're not doing our jobs.
No, I deliver value. I think sales sell and marketing market. But yes, it starts with shareholder value. So if I choose a few examples, what I love the most about this change is that I'm finally going back to doing the work with the team. So we do at Google, we do a lot of vibe coding, do the work as a leadership team and with your team. So the boundaries between I'm the leader of a team. My team is 600 people, so I don't get to the actual work very often. I manage what I do when my niece or son asks me, what do you do? I do emails and decks and presentations and meetings. That's the product.
Guilty as charged.
That outcome of my work is gonna be commoditized because we're gonna have agents and assistants to do that. So we're all getting closer and back to the work. We did very recently with a subset of Google leaders. I did it with my leadership team as well. And now we want all the teams to work like this. So it's this idea of a AI native work. So you open your computer, no deck, no framework. Apologies for the consultants in the room. So no framework, no selling framework. You get into the actual work. You open your Chrome or whatever tool you use. In our case, we use our own tools. And then you see the magic. Because it all starts with efficiencies and effectiveness, so the numbers I was quoting at the beginning. But when you touch the magic of the technology, we created a YouTube campaign. It's not going to be great in 10 minutes. This is kind of the fake headline, but it can be great in a few hours. The technology is very powerful now. Like a few years ago, I remember being at Cannes and saying, pictures are great, but videos are not there yet. So you have new models released every day. You can assume it's exponential and going really fast. So now it's what you do with the technology. So this YouTube campaign we created, I'm a marketer at heart, so I love insights. The ability to create personas, synthetic personas, and this is an Insights conference. This would have taken time and also a distance between me and the actual signal, the actual insight. So you can work with personas, then you can create the work on the fly. Very quickly, we're going to be able to distribute at scale and measure at scale, so you have that full loop. I wouldn't say it's a few years away now. I think it's a year-ish away of having that kind of marketing studio end-to-end. We'll talk later today about how the jobs are going to evolve. I think we're going to, do much more decision-making, much more work, much more connections, actual connections. I can never keep up with the speed of culture, so we're going to do more, faster. And it's going to be about the actual marketing discussion. So being together, seeing the magic live, I had discussions I hadn't had in years with my team on, should we go there? Because you can try things. You don't need the 3 weeks for the brief to get back to you. So I think it's sharpening our skill set. I can't recommend enough to not watch it or not be a witness to the tech, but actually practice it. Especially the more senior, the more hands-off you are, the more you have to get into the tools.
One question, a follow-up question, Marie, because you obviously talk to a lot of CMOs and sharing your practice, if you will. What are they most drawn to of the amazing story that you tell?
So when you put a group of CMOs in the room, I think what's different with the previous revolutions, like you, I was in my early days in marketing when the internet started, and then I was CMO, my first CMO job when social mobile happened, and now this one. I think it's unlike the previous two revolutions, and that's actually a pitfall, is to think it's going to be top down, it's going to be from frameworks, and kind of maturity changes. The difference with software or tools is you plug a new tool somewhere, people train, and then that's it. The difference with AI is that it's the eval. You have to train the tools so they get better. So it's a partnership. It's not an opposition. It's not that, oh, the machine is going to do this. No. It's a partnership. You have to put the right data in, otherwise it's going to be garbage out. You have to put the right context in. Everything that's in our head, or what we know, what's disseminated everywhere in organizations. So this is when you talk to CMOs, I think you have the folks who are moving beyond prototypes and scaling the building and the doing. And the ones who are still trying to figure out the actual roadmap to present to the board. You still have to do this. I have to go to my CFO. We have to also, for us as kind of customer zero of Google, we have to show how we do it. But that's almost kind of the icing on the cake. And if you don't embrace it, I think it's then you're drawn to the bear case. So I hope you can, after today, all embrace the bull case and start playing with the tools.
Excellent. I had the privilege of seeing some of your best case examples brought to life by you and your team. Can you share some of the things that you've been able to experience leveraging the power of data, technology, AI, and obviously creativity?
It's funny. We're going through a moment right now, as I answered a question, where we are trying to become less data obsessed. Although data, I'm guilty of charge of that, right? But and trying to understand data as a signal, not as truth. And I think it's important because some of the best work we do has to do with going back to this idea that things that perhaps already work are now like obsolete, right? So some of the work we are trying to do are those new ways into like problem solving, right? So let me share something. So I don't know if you're allowed to, through your filters, read the Playboy magazine, but the best ever interview done to Marshall McLuhan in 1969 was done in Playboy. You should read it, because that question, Antonio, and every single question you've been asking us has an answer in that article. It's like, it's so important to read that, because things like obsolescence is built into innovation, for example, right? It has already worked. Therefore, we need to find new ways. And if the data is telling us something, everyone has access to that same data. So unless we apply that creativity, right, a new idea that is going to capture your attention, imagination, or solve a problem in a new way, it's not going to happen, right? So we're using all these things right now when we are experimenting with new understandings of what that data is. And in doing that, what we are trying to understand more and more and more is the data is not a number, right? In that every single word that people put out there, that every single picture that people put out there, it's data, and how we can make sense of that unstructured data to truly understand people. Because right now, the only way for us to create that type of word that you're mentioning that can change the way people may make a decision or get like influenced by a brand, et cetera, has to do with us like really understanding people. And the data we used to look at before was not really giving us a hint into how people think or behave or what they need. They give us like a different type of information. So we are with our teams trying to really get into human understanding as the most important capability, if you wish, of our modern marketing approach.
Amazing.
Love that.
Christoph,
An example.
examples using some of your amazing creator community.
I think the interesting thing is the brief that usually comes to us, and thank you for this is very great insights you gave me right now, is that it needs to be authentic, right? Which, by the way, I started to really hate that word.
Say more, say more.
I don't
Say more.
Marketing speak.
I think this is just gotten so wrong. Authentic usually is only happening in the comparison to something that already happened, right? So I like more to shift the creativity to a sense of untouched territories, where you can have more a territory of singularity, which is basically never befores. What I realized is that to get there, you have to create the environment, the safe environment that actually could happen. And going through all the work we have done so far, many times we overly strategize and curate. Honestly, I see the work, and I don't want to be brutal, but I just say, it's just not there. I think I don't feel what I'm supposed to feel is not delighting me, honestly. I probably would not see it again if I don't have to. So, but a lot of work is great, and I would say, but then there come these moments, and that relates me to a conversation we had with HP in the past, is where we go to the essence of the brand. And as soon as we touch the essence of the brand, the opportunity to reach these untouched territories open up. But of course, for that you need someone, client, who really believes in that essence and hands it over to you as a child and say, do what you think is right. And I just remember that because we were working, one of our clients is Waymo, the self-driving cars. And of course, there's the entire conversation about the essence and all people in the room. And eventually we end up in, people just have to trust us that this is safe. And yeah, everyone there, okay. Trust is a good word. But one thing I've learned over the years is that trust can only happen through action. Cannot happen through words.
That's right.
So no matter what, how beautiful commercial we shoot or whatever, the trust will never really come, and definitely not in these times. So we created this campaign for Waymo and selected a curated team of creators that would go into the car and act as who they are. Because as I had this experience when my little daughter sings in her room, it's because she feels safe. If not, she wouldn't be singing. So she usually never sings. So when she sings, it's because she has this safe zone where she creates exuberance or something she wouldn't have done before. So we want to create that kind of environment in the car so that people would feel safe enough to do something different. Of course, this is real time. So we were basically have this all real time happenings. People could follow the creator real time. So one thing happened. One of the creators, she happened to start singing a song that was on the radio, and she really interpreted it in a very unbelievable way. And we thought, oh, maybe this is amazing what she's doing. No one would have thought that she's a singer because no one knew it. And that wasn't the story. Suddenly, the car stopped. And the voice came up from the head of security of Waymo saying, Shelley, can you please put the seatbelt on or we're not going to continue the trip? So she got embarrassed in a way, put the seatbelt on, and that moment, which I would name moment in culture, only happened, first of all, because we had the essence, we had the safe space, and out of the 50 that we had, that one hit the note that gave the opportunity to show the company that I care about you. And it was real, it was live, and became a moment of culture that really has put Waymo's thought and essence of, I care about your safety, on the map. So that's just an example.
Amazing, amazing. So let's shift a little bit about the, let's call it the not such a nice side of AI. Every day we're opening our digital newspapers and seeing thousands of people being laid off, major corporations, governments around the world. By the way, this is a truly global panel. We have Germany, France, Canada, Argentina, and Puerto Rico. So it's we have a very good, good and diverse points of view. How do we deal with that? I have a rather interesting and unique position on it, which is that we're living through a major transformation from employees to builders, and that and I have some data points. 65% of people, students that leave universities and MBA programs and are lucky enough to get a W-2 or a full-time job, 65% are also going to be an independent contractor. And they're going to be not Ubering, they're going to be building stuff. The word founder in LinkedIn has increased by 60% in the last year. The second important data point is that independent contractors or 1099 in the US today represents 40% of the workforce. I can assure you that within the next 18 months, that number is going to cross the barrier of the 50%. When I graduated from school, we're 5 brothers and sisters. 4 of them were W-2 or full-time employees. I also have 5 daughters. 4 out of the 5 are 1099. One of them is my daughter, Clara, Yale graduate, who's here. She's an independent contractor doing amazing work on her Clarity project with major brands around the world, without the frustration of some of that I had when I was growing up in the corporate world. So there is a major shift that does not have to be negative. It's just fundamentally different. But I would like to see your point of view. Why don't we start with you, Ariana, this time, as to how do we deal with all the negative connotations of the transformation?
Well, I am a technology optimist, so you're talking to a believer. And then again, go back to that article from McLuhan, because he even talks about this and the fact that we can't resist new technologies. We can't just opt out. It's on us to shape them, right? And that's really what my point of view is all about. I mean, this idea that, the problem is not technology. The problem is human laziness, right? We don't want to be replaced by technology, but then we get too comfortable because, it's like, you put a prompt there in Claude and it gives you a just good enough answer, and we are just okay with that. I mean, we need context, we need judgment. I don't believe that just plumbers are going to be the ones who are going to thrive in this AI revolution. Long live the sociologists in the room, because when you do understand context, when you can use AI in a way that supports you, that gives you steroids to what you're doing instead of the other way around, when you don't conform with just the first result that you get, right? When you add your specificity, your expertise, your everything that you've been building up to, then you get to something amazing. I mean, it's a fantastic time for creativity right now if we can use these tools right. It's just like, I think about this almost every day. When I first started my career, almost 30 years ago, I was working at the beginning of the digital age, right? And I remember one of my first projects, I don't know if there are soccer lovers here in the room. As an Argentine, I have to always talk about soccer, but there was this big event that was Diego Maradona was retiring from soccer, and I had the privilege to live stream his farewell game on the internet. And I will never forget that, right? I'll never forget that because we created a lot of demand. It was the only way to watch the game. You couldn't watch it unless you were in Argentina watching it on TV. So it was a fantastic creative idea. But technology was so behind. People were connecting through dial-up. So imagine watching a soccer game with dial-up. Okay, so you get the point. Right now, we are experiencing the opposite. Technology has advanced much more than our creative ideas and imagination. So it's on us to stop for a second, don't conform, and start using our brain, our context, our creativity. We don't need to have just a creative job title to do it. And try to see a world that's better thanks to this technology.
Me next?
Go. Yeah. Anyone?
I am also an optimist, and maybe for more pessimistic reasons. I find, I just talked about how we've been asked to go from making things to being able to discern what good things are. I think we're also in this moment where, as a workforce, every time you mention McLuhan, my Canadian heart explodes because Canada not being was like embraced that because they didn't care if it was taking them into a different future, But this idea that we went from being labor to cognition, that's the job that we all have currently. And I think that the next level goes to kind of metacognition, which is thinking about the thinking. And I think that is an explosive area for humanity. And I can't think of an industry or a place where we need to do more thinking about our thinking than in this moment for what we do. So I'm very excited about that. I do think that we are coming out of an era where cognition and labor, because of some of the business practices of how we built business cases and business models, you collapsed cognition into labor in a way that meant, I've just walked into an environment where I had maybe 40 people who were my marketing department, who were continually so tagged into a workflow, a work process, which is a very old labor kind of idea, but they were shipping empty boxes intellectually. Mm-hmm. So you could start off a process and get it all the way through a company and not notice that actually nothing happened at the other side. It's like creating a Chrome Hemi engine and running vinegar through it. It doesn't do anything. And so at the moment, I'm stripped back to 5 people. And we are all very leaning heavily into this idea of using AI, not to be full stack marketers, but to take the thing that we are excellent at, each of us, and push it down through a process that does the labor and the thinking, while we're sitting at the top trying to figure out, are we thinking about that the right way? And what is a different flow that we can do this with? And I literally have, it was not an embarrassing moment, but there was a moment on our earnings call that just happened 2 days ago where someone said, so, your marketer's been in place for 5 months, like, are we gonna see something? I was like, oh. But what we're doing is that metacognition moment. Breaking down the whole thing, the only way to change the direction was to break that shipping of boxes, that labor and cognition flow, and literally dead end it so that we could do nothing except figure out how we were actually going to move forward. And then I have basically the next few months to rapidly rebuild and hit market again. And there's been a calculation done where it won't get better, but it won't get worse. And that's the amount of time I have to get to a place where we're better. And I don't think that would be possible without these tools. I don't think it's about exiting labor. I can tell you I'm running a group of freelance contributors that are all even more specified around us, who are then bringing back things for us to work into our process. But it has been the most terrifying, freeing, enlightening, uncomfortable, energetic thing that I've done in a long time. And I don't think it would have been possible 12 months ago. And so for me, I feel positive about it.
For you, Christoph, silver lining in all this?
I'm really amazed how much power we can give into the hands of creative minds today. So whatever that means, for me, is positive. So I'm a big believer in liberating the creative voice as much as I can. And but there's one thing sitting here in the business mecca where we are here today. When I grew up, business was a dirty word. Business people, suits, Today, business is as sexy as music in the ears of the generations today. So if you should understand that shift, you need to also make sure that it's part of their everyday possibility. So why I'm so optimistic? Because today there's nothing that doesn't happen with the intersection of entrepreneurship, technology, and creativity. While in the past you could completely separate them and fragment them, and everyone would go its own way, and they would never talk, and nothing would really new happen. Now, anyone who has any sense of life say that if you don't monetize, you basically will not succeed. Therefore, I think the positive part is that anyone who has a singular spark has in their hands entrepreneurship, creativity, and technology in their hands to make something that definitely will be different from what we have seen. And more importantly, in a speed that is mind-boggling. So that for me is the positive side. I think, if I may say the negative side, is I got my first job by writing my name in Helvetica Medium. I was prepared to say all kinds of cool stuff to this creative director, but then he took his Mont Blanc, put it on a paper and said, write your name in Helvetica Medium. I said, okay. I happened to have studied typefaces, so I actually couldn't make it and got the job. Then it evolved the world, and I think if you think about talent, I was in the vertical. I knew a vertical. I was a very good art director, I think, and good designer, and knew typefaces in and out. I love typefaces, and so it happened. But then came the generic crowd of creativity, and they knew a bit of everything, and honestly, the quality went south. And then he said, well, I have to go back to basic, but then you cannot be too vertical. So basically, I think this acceleration ran the risk that some essential skill set could get lost. And I think there's nothing bad to be the best in the world of something. That's the only thing I'm saying. So
I agree.
Just pursue that and then put the technology against it, and life will happen. So that's my...
Marie, your thoughts?
So I want to start, I say the same thing to my team by cautioning against the predictions. Every day you open your phone, myself included, and you have headlines with predictions. Very few people know how the whole S-curve is going to land. So it's a different S-curve from first was the internet, then mobile. It's this new one. A few economists are making assumptions. And so most of the predictions you see are from folks trying to monetize AI. So they have a vested interest in making predictions. So I would start here. And we're publicly traded at Google, so I'm not going to go into any prediction. What I can share is what I share with the team. Any big technological change, you see three things. You see job change. So the jobs are not going away, they just change on average. And again, not me, not an official thing. It's more economists and what economists are saying. And I would, again, advise listening to the economists for this. 2/3 of the jobs will change, might change. So it's what you see. The period of time is going to be more compressed probably because of the speed of this one, but you never know. There is the messy side of things, and there is, the unknowns and the macroeconomics on top of it. So 2/3 of the jobs will evolve. there will be new jobs. The first job I had, I was webmaster. Do you guys still know webmasters? Yeah. That was my first job, 25-something years ago, out of business school. And it was my first job at L'Oréal. I needed a job. It was 9/11. The economy was bad. And I took this webmaster job. I didn't know how to code, by the way. And I became the CMO at L'Oréal, so, 18 years later. So there are jobs that are going to be created, and the other data point that economists use is that 85% of the jobs we have today didn't exist in 1945.
That's right.
So just to give an idea and resituate and take a bit of distance from the kind of the dizzying headlines, and apply it to myself. Sometimes I'm like, I can't read this. Is it fact-based? Is it proven? So the second phenomenon is the creation of new jobs. And then obviously there will be jobs that will be no longer needed. But it's, again, speculation is very tricky. We take an example at Google. We take the example of radiologists. If you have a friend who's in medical school, and I have a very good friend who is in medical school studying radiologists, we actually see more radiologists because of all the new businesses created with AI. So you have more images. The Pronuvo, you see those MRI businesses. So you have more images that are produced, and so you actually need more people and more judgment to actually make the call. Yeah. So sometimes I also take the example of real estate brokers. If you take just the matching of a house between a house and apartment between a buyer and a seller, why would you need an intermediary? Because you need someone to negotiate, and it's a sales skill set. Right. And so, by now, with the state of the technology, you wouldn't need the broker. We still have them, and it's thriving, and they are powered by, tools and tech like Zillow and others. And so I do think that we should, keep calm, take distance from the headlines, listen to the experts, and not try to be in the business of predictions. When I see that prediction papers can tank the stock market now, I'm like, where are we? We can't be in the business of speculations anyway. So that's not a silver lining, but this is how at least I find clarity, and I try to provide clarity to my team.
Maria, I totally agree with you. The other one that executive search, headhunters are done. Now we do everything with AI. Just looked at LinkedIn, every single resume looks the same.
Exactly.
Everyone is using the same platitudes. So now guess what? Now you have to call the headhunter to actually help you sort what's good, who do you know. And anyway, before we open up for questions.
Can I just say,
please.
3 years ago, the headlines was, Google and search was going to be extinct. So, and I can see it, and and there will be waves of businesses with predictions. And today, our search business is thriving because people ask more questions and they search differently. And you see it yourself. You used to just type blue dress, and now you're typing blue dress for a wedding in spring, and the weather is going to be X. So the technology is, I agree with you so much, liberating, and it's the history of humanity, and that's beautiful. So
I agree.
I hope it can open up the bull questions. We can also take the bear questions. Yeah. No worries, but. Yeah.
So before we do, one word to what's your outlook for the future? The future will be within marketing. Start with you, Christoph.
What it should be?
One word. The future will be blank.
It will be.
Yes.
Marketing will be. Marketing will benefit from this transformation to become relevant again in our lives.
Excellent. Marie?
The one word is relevant.
Relevant. Marie?
Yeah.
It's on us, it's on the industry. I think marketing will be growth. There will be very little difference between comms, marketing, and sales because agents won't make the difference between the silos. So it will be growth, or it will be customer something
Yes.
that will be about the user, the customer, and the insights at the center. I can't wait.
My word was going to be expansive. I think that done properly, this does start to, we've come out of the era of, no marketers, it's all chief revenue officers, and it's like, but actually what drives that revenue? And, I think that the future of marketing is expansive. We need to rethink what it can be.
And for me, marketing will be back.
Will be?
Back.
Back.
Meaning, like, if I started by saying that marketing has a marketing problem, I strongly believe that we're going to be able to clarify the role of marketing in the organization, because more important than ever is going to be to help any brand differentiate. Yeah. Because in a world where everyone has the same data or can equalize like outputs and using like AI and so forth, our ability to truly find the right product to solve the right need, to put it in the right place with the right audience, et cetera, it's going to be a skill that like only those who get it will be able to do and to use as a revenue driver.
Excellent. So we would like to open the session for questions. So please identify who you are, where you're coming from, and then hit us with a question.
Hello. I'm Brad Davidson from Novartis, and I caught your reactions to the word authentic. So I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to ask you, why, if we all hate this word, are we seeing it everywhere? I know that people want it, but nobody can define it. So can you talk more about what we actually mean by authenticity and why we can't name it properly?
You started with this, Christoph, so you hit it. And
Sure.
go.
I think authentic, it could become intrusive in a way, because that means that what you're doing is not authentic. And basically compares to others, to be different. While the point I was trying to make is the singularity is born out of the never before. So you don't compare to the past. So I think that's why I'm tired of authenticity, because at the end is as a comparison to what happened before, as a reaction, as a defensive reaction. Yeah. While singularity is a positive forward thinking. So that's why I thought it's become an obsolete term to reach what you really want to reach.
I think there's also a performative nature to authenticity right now as it applies to what we do. And I think that's the thing that we probably respond to also as trained creatives. It's like anything that is performative cannot be authentic because it is mass produced then at scale, which makes it a commodity. And it quickly makes authentic looks like this, this, and this. And so then there are no corners, there are no edges. It becomes a perfection of authentic, and it's not real. Authentic is scary, could go wrong any minute, vulnerable, emotional, not necessarily always logical. If you ask a client if that's what they're looking for, the first thing they'll tell you is absolutely not. So it's a word that I don't understand. What they're really saying is, I don't want it to look like an ad.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing.
It almost becomes like the brief saying, we need something very cool.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's the new make it viral.
Good. Let's do something very cool.
It's a bit jargony too. The moment it becomes jargony and the moment it becomes manufactured, then you have an issue. It's like Steve Jobs used to say real things in plain English. So the word I'm using with my team most of the time is real. Show real people, real businesses. They can't look like actors. Like, you don't even know if they are real people. And the more we're gonna be powered by very powerful tools, the more the world is gonna crave for that thing. Unfortunately, this authenticity word is too tainted now. But there is really something.
Yeah, I would add to that the industry has this tendency to fall in love with words that we use as labels, and then we kill them. And the words are so good, and then we kill them, and we can't use them again. So your question 5 years ago would have been about engagement, right? And we kill the word engagement. It's a great word, but we cannot use it right now because it feels so empty and generic, and it means so many things and therefore nothing, right? Authenticity kind of seems same thing, right? And one of the things that we are doing is we are reacting to the fact that at the end of the day, authenticity cannot be engineered. So what is authenticity in marketing really? I mean, we have so many like tools and like research and like the ability to actually create something and engineer something. So earlier you asked about examples. I mean, one of my favorite examples, I judge a lot of work in creative festivals. And one of my favorite examples of last year that was highly recognized came from a different group, not my company, but it's fabulous. It's from Vaseline Intensive Care. And speaking of authenticity, it's like everything done right, from creators to e-commerce, et cetera, et cetera. What it is they realized that everyone was using Vaseline Intensive Care for different things, not the things that they were promoting, right? And they were using it the right way, they were using it the wrong way, they were using it for things that we cannot even talk in this forum, they were using it for so many things. And what they did was, you know what, let's embrace that as a brand. It takes gut. Let's embrace that. Let's take a look at that. Let's add scientists to validate whether or not that is a good use case. And then we're going to verify those cases. And if we verify your case, you're going to be added to the group of like verified people with like the right, and then we're going to create an ecosystem of like commerce around that, et cetera, et cetera. You watch the case on Google it and then like watch the case. It's like fabulous. It's a 2-minute video of authenticity and modern marketing done right.
Another question?
Ben here from Brand Genetics. Firstly, thank you for taking the time. It's such an interesting, diverse perspective across a lot of you, and conscious that I've ended up with the question before lunch, so I'm going to try and squeeze the last of your brain power before we all top up. It feels to me that there's sort of two levers to competitive advantage, right? There's this idea of surfacing what we might have called insight or now signal, to your point about language. There's the finding of stuff, the finding of the true stuff. And then there's the lever of organizations translating that into organizational, operational, competitive advantage, leveraging the 4 Ps to take that stuff and make an interaction out of that. Both are changing. But would love to hear from your perspective right now, which of those two levers, the surfacing of stuff or the doing stuff with it organizationally, are we most operationally equipped for as organizations today? Where are we most set up for versus where is there most work to be done?
I can try. The insights piece is closer to this, the end of the intermediaries, like the connection from signals and insights to decision making. This is much closer than before. You can have access to insights at your fingertips. I manage a kind of a big insights team, and they were the first to be worried. And it's actually the opposite that's happening. They do way more because the nature of large language models is very applicable to the world of insights. When you go into beyond text and you go into videos and images and kind of the rest of the, if I take the marketing value chain, the models are there. It's just the context that you need to provide for the outcomes to be great. We will soon be in a world where your question will be about the collapsing from insights to content to outcomes. Mm-hmm. That was my other word for the next 5 years or maybe 3, outcome-based marketing. I will be able to say, outcome-based growth. This is my goal. Mm-hmm. I want to grow leads. I want this target ROI. I want this brand lift. Let's work backwards based on the signals I have. So the insights will become context and signals. And then you'll have a plethora of choices. There will still be lots of judgment and more decision-making, but with much better inputs. So we'll spend less time on the inputs and the doing. The making will be faster. So I actually think it's a great question. It's just gonna kind of shorten in terms of value of work and life cycle.
That's great.
Let's come back here in 2 years and have the same discussion.
That's great. Yeah. One more. I'm trying to avoid Mr. Ross because he should be here in the panel and ask questions, but take us home. Go for it.
Okay, my name is Ross.
This is Ross Martin. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Ross. I like long walks on the beach and sushi. I work at an agency called Known, and my question for the group is, in the world you're talking about and the world that we're creating, what is the role of the Yale Center for Customer Insights?
Well, I can tell you firsthand for me, because I have actually put things into these classrooms as business problems when I was at Snap. For me, what this group fundamentally did is it offered another viewpoint into my problem that was not constrained by all my known internal problems. It literally got me faster. There were fewer gates to the truth. And I found that massively compelling. And honestly, the ideas I was getting out of students were far more lateral and true and on point than the stuff that my executives were giving me, because they were filtering through all the known gates and problems first.
I agree with that by design, and one of the reasons that I became associated with this institution is that by design is significantly more interdisciplinary than most other schools of the same reputation out there. I believe that the notion of interdisciplines, the notion of critical thinking, the notion of being able to connect dots from different areas is going to become more critical than ever before. Less so on the technical side, where you will have some of the AI models to give you return on investment and all the type of stuff that performance marketing as well. So that's why I think the role is more important than ever, and I hope that they continue with that approach. We'll take one more before we go to lunch. Right there.
No microphone.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, along the lines of defining some words, so I think the word on everyone's lips is signals, right? It's in every presentation, it's in all the decks. I'd be curious just to debate or hear your definitions of what that word should really mean for all of us. And if there are signals that the AI is better at finding, or if there are signals that the human eye and the human being are better at finding. Oh, that's your question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
I'm going to stop using the word now.
Did we call the word?
Yes, we call the word. We're going to add it to that list, right? I'll go like just for a second, then we can all chime in. So for me, is this idea that like data shouldn't be truth. It's just like something for you to add your own thinking, your own judgment, your own context to interpret it. I like a signal is not a full-baked truth.
I see it as a continuum, but again, a definition of a practitioner, I'm not in any academic position, so I see data points and lots of data points, more data points that we can comprehend, that's why we need tools. Then you move to sense making of the data points. So that's pattern recognition. My measurement and analytics team, that's what they used to spend a lot of time on, was the pattern recognition, anomaly recognition. So that's sense making. And to me, you get to the stage of signals. And then insights to me is the next level, right, which is attention, which is kind of pre-creative work. There is way more judgment. There is way more, there is the beginning of a story there, and then you pass it to the creators or, to actually develop an outcome. But I see it as a kind of a value chain as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you to the panel.